Alright guys, this is the first set of study videos. So we're going to look at Unit 1, Cell Structure. Remember, these go directly along with your review paragraphs, and I would recommend reading through those, watching these videos, make sure you got the right answers and that you know what you're doing. Alright, so first we got Section 1 on organic molecules. So we're going to look at the structure and function of organic molecules. And lesson 1, organic molecules. How is the structure of organic molecules important for cellular structure and reaction? So remember, all life is made up of 4 different organic molecules. Those 4 types are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. Carbohydrates and lipids are primarily used for energy and structure, whereas proteins and nucleic acids are used for controlling reactions. Each of these organic molecules is made up of subunits called monomers. And now we're going to look at each one of these in detail. Carbohydrates are sugars, very often end in ose. The monomer for carbohydrate is a monosaccharide. Carbohydrates are used for short-term energy storage and for structure, specifically cell walls. Some examples of carbohydrates are glucose, which is the product of photosynthesis, cellulose, which is used to make the cell walls of plants, and starch, which is found in many foods such as potatoes. And these just kind of show some various carbohydrates and what they look like. So if you notice, they've all got rings. If you see that kind of a ring, it's generally going to be a carbohydrate. Glucose only has one ring, so it is actually a monosaccharide or simple sugar. Starch has a whole bunch of them put together, so that is a polysaccharide or a complex sugar. Lipids are fats, oils, and waxes. They don't really have a specific monomer, but they'll generally be made using fatty acids. They're used for long-term energy storage and for structure, specifically in the plasma membrane. They work well for membranes because they don't mix with water. So if you've ever poured oil in water, they don't mix at all. And the main examples, at least for this class, are phospholipids, which are used to make the lipid bilayer of membranes in cells. So here we have an example of what a lipid might look like. Over here, each one of these is a phospholipid. So you have the 2 fatty acid tails and the phosphate head, which we'll talk about more in a later lesson. Proteins. They're used to get things done in cells. Their main function is to make up enzymes that control all the reactions in a cell. Their monomer is an amino acid, and proteins are able to do their job because they can fold into complex 3D shapes that allow them to act like tools in the cell. While not true of all of them, many enzymes end in ase. Some examples of proteins include hemoglobin, which is found in blood cells and helps transport oxygen, insulin, which helps cells take up sugar and, if not being produced, leads to diabetes, and ribosomes, which are organelles found in all cells that also make proteins. So notice all of these things are getting something done in the cell. Here's an example of what a protein sort of looks like. So we got a whole long chain of amino acids put together. And then that long chain will fold up, kind of as you see here, into a specific shape. And if you notice, this is able to fit directly into here. And that's how that shape really helps them function. All right, nucleic acids are used to store hereditary information, and their main purpose is to code for proteins. The monomer for nucleic acid is a nucleotide, which has 3 parts: a sugar, a phosphate, and a base. There are 5 different bases. We'll talk about those more later. And nucleic acids are able to store information by arranging these bases in a specific order that acts like a code. The 2 main examples of nucleic acids are DNA, which stores all the genetic information in a cell and is found in the nucleus of eukaryotes, and RNA, which helps DNA code for proteins. Again, we will get into detail on all of this later in the class. Here's an example of a nucleotide. So you notice I've got the sugar, the phosphate, and the base. And trust me, you will be hearing this throughout the class in basically every single unit. All right, finally, this chart is really kind of the most important thing on this video because it really has all the information that you need. Now, you should have something very similar to this in your notes and in some of the little activities that we've done already. And so if you have not gone back and look at this, you definitely need to do that before we take this test because it really does have everything. If you know all the stuff on here and you kind of understand how it works together, you should be good to go. So again, look at this chart. Make sure you know this chart. All right, next up we're going to talk about enzymes.